And hello again, everyone, and welcome to Night's Report. Today brought to you by Ethel M. We're in our studios here.
It feels good.
Socially distanced, here at City National Arena. Great to have you with us, Dave Gosher, Stormy Bonantoni. We're going to be joined by a very special guest momentarily. It's not Shane Knighty, although Shane he'll join the show later when we get Stormy out of here. I'll stay. Marc-Andre is going to join us momentarily, but before we get to the flower, Stormy, we have not been, we've done these Zoom shows. We never had heard of Zoom until 3 months ago, 2.5 months ago. What have you been doing with yourself over the last 10 weeks?
Being very bored at home. No, I've done a lot of puzzles and just kind of random activities, I guess. Nothing really too fun or nothing too special. This morning my power went out though, so that was a great start to the day. I was like, okay, I'm finally coming into the office, getting fully ready, taking a shower in the dark. So
nice.
That was a good start. What about you?
Well, I took a shower in the light. That was a good thing.
Why don't you brag about it?
Yeah. No, what have I been doing? Nothing really that important. The weather's been awesome, right? So I'm lucky enough to have a pool, so spent some time in the pool over the weekend. Did the old-fashioned cookout on Sunday, for Memorial Day, so like burgers, dogs, corn on the cob, salad, and maybe an adult beverage or two. But no, it's been good to kind of see things start to loosen up a little bit, which is good. And we're going to get the NHL had a big announcement earlier today on trying to get into phase 2 of a return to play plan, but Shane and I didn't get to that in a little bit. But before that, we are happy to be joined by Marc-Andre Fleury, joining us here on Night's Report. There he is. Well, you're a sight for sore eyes. What are you up to? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Oh, there he goes.
Oh, there we are. Hey, what have you been? What are you up to? How was your holiday weekend? What's new in your world?
Not much. A little bit like you guys, right? Just use the pool, been outside, do a little barbecue too, and I got some news today, right? So for what's coming up, so that's it's good that things are moving along a bit there.
Before we get into a little bit of that news, I just want to say I'm so excited that you're not in your car today. Last time we saw you, you were running errands, so I'm glad we got you in a little stable environment here.
Yeah, I almost missed you again, though. I was in the pool with the kids, and then I almost forgot, so I had to get out and make sure I got you guys on the call.
Oh, you're a busy man, we know, so we appreciate you taking some time with us, Flower. In terms of this stretch of time, and I know we've talked to you on this show before in other different formats, but what's it been like for you in terms of your training and your mindset and with the hopes that the NHL is going to try to gear things back up again?
Yeah, it's difficult. At the beginning, you keep working out right away to stay in shape for when this thing starts again, and I think we all thought it was going to be a little quicker, right? So it's tough to train and not have like an end goal to where you want to be in your training, right? And to have enough rest, but still be in great shape when it starts. So been working out at home and riding the mountains with my bike a bit. So that's been new for me, and it's been a lot of fun to do.
How would you say that workout process has evolved for you then, maybe from the start to now? Because like you said, at first you really thought it might only be a couple weeks before the games would return, and then it just kept getting extended. So did you have anything in mind, maybe at the start where you were like going really hard, making sure, then you kind of had to slowly ease off of that? What was kind of the strategy behind that?
I think no mix of everything, right? And I thought we were going to come back pretty quickly, so I went at it, trying to stay on top of it, and now with the news that are coming out, at least we have an idea of when we have to be at our peak in the training. So it's good to have just a global idea of what to do and where to be.
Flower, you mentioned the news that came out today, and Commissioner Gary Bettman officially making an announcement of what a return to play will look like. And, we understand there's a lot of things that have to go right, and everyone's safety is at the top of that list. But what do you make of the plan as you've kind of digested here over the last few days?
I think that was the best way to go to be fair to the teams that were almost, were so close to playoffs and we needed, I think, 24 teams to make it work, right? With the tournament before playoffs and the best out of the 5, to make playoffs. So I think that was a good decision, and I think like for us, we're in good shape, right? We get that bye to the first round, and it's gonna be good. But at the same time, I feel like teams that battle, to come in and have that best out of 5 before the first round might have more the game shape a bit than us. That's something that maybe scares me a bit.
Curious your thoughts on that kind of round robin for those top 4 teams in each conference. Do you like that there is a little bit more weight on those versus them just being kind of meaningless tune-up games? Do you like that there is a potential change in seeding?
Yeah, I think it's good. It makes everybody try harder a bit, and we have some to play for, right? Some to gain out of it, and those when you come back in training camp usually, and then those first preseason games are not your best, and just trying to get the rust off and stuff. And we've been away from the rink for so long now that I think we'll definitely need those games before playoff starts.
I'm curious to your regimen to get yourself back ready here, Marc-Andre. In the off season, you have some time, and then you get yourself geared up for training camp. But these are such unprecedented circumstances of you're in the heat of the season, you get 11 games left, and everything stops. So how long do you think you'd need to get yourself where you'd want to be?
I guess we'll see. I don't know. I think it's going to be looking a little bit like summer. Probably skate for a month, with the guys in the small groups at the arena, and then training camps for 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not sure, but so it looks like regular, and August, September month, before the season. So that's what I intend to have my routine in, to make sure I'm ready for that first game.
Marc, what is the longest that you can remember being off skates and not being on the ice?
I don't know. I've been pretty lucky with my teams, playing for a bit in the playoffs and stuff. So I guess maybe early in my career when we didn't make playoffs, those were the ones I had the most months without playing, for sure.
See, that's what I was curious about, because I know a bunch of guys have said that, since I learned how to skate, I've gotten on the ice at least to practice or something like that every couple weeks, maybe every month. But going this long without actually having time on ice is so bizarre, so different.
It is, but I usually after every season I take at least a month without putting on. It's different, but I guess it's 2 months instead of 1. So
I think he's still with us. We can see him. He's right there on the screen. We've got to break it up a little bit. Can you hear us, Flower? Yep. There.
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah.
There he is. There he is.
Yeah, I got you.
You got us? Great. You must be excited as well. And again, assuming, fingers crossed, everything goes okay, you get into phase 2. And, I know Gary Bettman said today they probably don't expect a training camp scenario until the first week or 2 of July. Best case scenario, you can get back and make a run for the Stanley Cup. And, you know that feeling better than most people in your locker room. How excited are you to see what this team might be able to do?
Very. I think that's a big reason why I was happy to see that the league wanted to push to let us play and let us come back and play for the Cup, because I really like your team. I like your chemistry and our talent. I think we have a shot at this, and I'm really looking forward to see what we can get.
Well, and Pete DeBoer actually really recently said to our Darren Millard on his podcast that he thinks that this is the most talented team that he has ever coached. Curious, when you did get the news that, hey, there are steps being put in place to ideally get us to the second phase here soon, did you get butterflies? What was your feeling just to know that you might actually be back around some of your teammates and back over here at City National?
Yeah, I did. It's been I don't know. We've been away for so long, right? And in the dark, we never knew when we were going to start again, or if we were going to start at all. So finally have some news, and Start thinking about it. Start thinking about seeing the guys every day and mess around with them and stuff, having fun on the ice with them, and then having a chance to compete for the cup, without having to play 82 games, So I think that'll be fun too.
What's it been like, Flower? You mentioned the guys, and you seem like this group has a special chemistry. What's the communication been like over the last 2.5 months? Group text? Is it FaceTime? Is it Zoom? Is it a little bit of everything?
Yeah, group texts, group FaceTimes. It's very funny to say everyone, but our team reps have been Schmitty, Taki, Stoney, Marty. All of them have been great at telling us what's going on, and they always keep us informed on the talks with the NHLP and the NHL. So yeah, I think that's when we usually all connect together and stay in touch.
Before you got a little bit more serious there talking about Schmitty and being reps and everything, you had a big smile on your face talking about those group chats. Like, who is the biggest chirper in these group chats? Who's acting out? Who's being silly, sending funny gifs and messages?
I think Revel is always good at finding something funny about anybody on their face or in the environment around them. Marchie is a big mouth too. Always like to hear what he's got to say. Yeah, I think we have a good bunch of guys, and also it's always fun to. I miss them. Miss going to the rink and having the good times with them.
Flower, just a couple of more questions for you. I remember when this all started. Your wife on Instagram, I believe, put a picture of you out there you had like a power screwdriver or a drill or something, home improvement project. Is that still going on? Or, how's that working out for you?
The fence still there. It's still holding up, so that's good. I'm happy with that. But I don't know. I feel like I add a list of things to do, that always push to later on, during the season. And my list has been done and kind of rolling my thumbs now. Don't know what to do.
Well, I know something that every time that we've talked about you brought up is homeschooling the girls. What's been the toughest subject for you having to deal with homeschool?
Just my daughter. She's not a subject, but she's the toughest to deal with. I think just to keep her motivated and to make sure she's listening and trying to learn. I think she always wants to look at her sister, go play with her brother, do something else other than her homework. So we have to let a negotiation to get her done.
Well, Flower, it's great to see you. It'll be even better to see you, hopefully even in person, even from a distance, even from whatever distance. That'll be great. So stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you in person soon.
Yeah, thank you. You too, guys. See you soon, hopefully.
Right. Marc-Andre Fleury joining us here on Night's Report. Of course, three-time Stanley Cup winner, 5 trips to the Stanley Cup final. And as your question to him, Stormy, kind of got butterflies with, okay, fingers crossed this all goes right for everybody, safety first, but what a chance they have to potentially make a good run for a championship.
No, it is. It's so exciting. This team was doing so well before the pause, and then you think about how refreshed everyone is coming back. And I always look to what Max Pacioretty said, talking about how he thinks that when they do get to the Stanley Cup this year, this run throughout the playoffs is going to be the toughest one they have because everybody is coming back healthy. And I'm just so excited to see what this team really can do once they get on the ice. I know we keep on having to say if they get back out on the ice, but it's definitely optimistic to get these steps moving.
Well, real good news today delivered by Gary Bettman on the return to play and what that is going to look like. But we also have big news here in the Valley regarding the American Hockey League. I want you to make sure you're aware of this on Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Of course, the Golden Knights are going to have their AHL affiliate starting next season playing in Henderson. Reveal night is Thursday night. It'll be carried locally here on Channel 3, the NBC affiliate here in the Valley, on KSNV, but also everywhere else, on Twitter, on the Facebook, on Twitch, on YouTube, 7 o'clock. It's going to be a terrific show. Darren Millard, Gary Lawless, Stormy's going to be a part of that as well. So be sure to tune in. Reveal night, Thursday, 7 o'clock when the official name and logo for the Henderson AHL franchise will be revealed. All right. Look who showed up on the set. There he is. Shane Knighty joining us. Shane, Stormy and I were talking a little bit about, this news that, it's kind of been out there a bit, rumor of it. But today, officially, Gary Bettman talking about this, return and the potential of return and transitioning into phase 2. What do you make of what he had to say as we kind of try to take the next step forward here?
Well, it's kind of twofold for me. You look at it, and the players voted on it, the 24-team format to go in with 16 teams, or a play-in, round-robin style. So there's a lot of moving pieces to it. Yes, it's agreed on. It's good. It's a first step. So there's optimism from that. But there's still a lot of things to cover going forward. I know Bettman's talking now. They did a Zoom call, him and Bill Daly. Before I came on, I was just reading, they're talking about, they need to have testing available. They're looking at somewhere between 25,000 and 30,000 tests for availability, which costs millions of dollars. So health is going to be first and foremost. They'll consult, the medical professionals before they move to phase 3, which would be camps, and that wouldn't come until July. And then, they have to vote on a lot of protocols before they get to that. And then after that, it would be going to phase 4 as we take a look at the NHL return to play.
Well, this is what it would look like. Obviously, usually every year, 16 playoff teams, 8 in the East, 8 in the West. Different story, much different times in the spring of 2020. They're going to expand it to 12 in the East, 12 in the West. So 24 teams. The regular season is over. So that's done. And oh, by the way, the Golden Knights have won their second Pacific Division title in 3 years.
Pacific champs.
They win the Pacific Division. Hub cities are still being looked at. But there you go. Congratulations on winning the Pacific Division.
On the Hub city, that was another thing. They expect that in 3 to 4 weeks. They should kind of narrow down the hub cities they're looking at. Of course, as you read, Vegas still considered in the mix for that. So lots of things, but this is a step forward once you've moved, phase. But that said, the players, 700 players, still have to vote on moving to the next step. Obviously, there's a lot of things with going to a hub city, health concerns, family concerns, the amenities, the logistics, how long. Trying to create these bubble hub cities will be a big step for them. But, the thing I like about it is they're moving forward. And there's a lot of dialogue. They've been exploring so many options, and they'll continue to do that with safety first in mind. So the cities that are being looked at for hub cities, and they said today there's 8, I believe, or maybe 9. I'll just run through them. So in the West, Vegas, which, for so many reasons would be a great spot. Chicago, Edmonton, Dallas, LA, Minnesota, Vancouver. So 6 in the West. And in the East, they're looking at Toronto, Columbus, and Pittsburgh. It's interesting, Shane, some players over the last 24 to 48 hours have said, look, and you kind of made this point, and as a longtime player yourself, look, all we've done is voted on, if we're able to come back and play, this is what it's going to look like, right? And that, there's still a long way to go, but top 4 teams, and the Golden Knights are third among those 4 in the West, they get a bye in that, kind of that first round. They'll play a little round robin to get their legs going. And then it's 5 plays 12, 6 plays 11, 7 plays 10. Best of 5, right? Best of 5 play-in round to get into the Stanley Cup playoffs. Gary Bettman also said today they haven't decided just yet on how they're going to work it out. Is it going to be reseeding after that, that first step? Is it a playoff bracket? So there's a lot of things they have to consider. Some of the other things, Shane, worth noting. When they do get back into this transition to phase 2, only 6 players at a time on the ice. 6 players on a voluntary basis. No overlap with any other players. So they're going to, test 2 days before they come back, test twice a week thereafter. So there's a lot, it's 21 pages. It's a good read. Yeah, but it's a pretty comprehensive look at what they've thought about and all the things they've had to take into consideration to try to get this back going again. Yeah, and just before I touch on that about phase 2, which we're moving into with the, say groups of 6 players coming, we still don't know round 1 and 2 of the playoffs if those they did say that the final 2 rounds will be 7-game series, but they're still not unsure, I think, on how many games will be played in the first 2 rounds. But right now, for players to come back, and I think It is. It's not a mandatory. It's voluntary. Guys want to get back on the ice. They got to be smart. People got to use common sense. They got to use all the protocols that are put in place. And I think they will. This is an opportunity for guys to get back. They'll be excited about it. They've been away. You want to get back on the ice. So make sure. And they would have discussed this in all their meetings between the PA, the Return to Play Committee, and the NHL about how to do this safely, how to do this smart, and make sure everything's covered. That's the first step. So that's the first step towards optimism, but still a long way to go, certainly going forward.
Players coming back to their respective teams, first step, 14-day quarantine if you're traveling back from elsewhere into your city to where your team is. So that's a 2-week quarantine right off the bat. The other thing that I thought was interesting, Shane, at least in the initial phase, which they hope to start in early June, no coaches on the ice. Yeah. Nobody in terms of, they can have a goalie coach, but it has to be independent from the team, right? So Marc-Andre Fleury, Robin Leonard could hire somebody, I guess, to go out there. You're allowed one trainer, one strength and conditioning coach, one equipment manager, and that's it, right, in terms of being around the team. So players are going to have basically their own shifts, where it's going to have a start time and a stop time. They leave the facility, and then the next group comes back. So, but as you said, Jen, it's, from a player standpoint, this is such a, well, for all of us, it's such a, out of this universe experience. But now they've got this opportunity. Safety first. They're not expecting the training camps, though, until the first maybe couple of weeks of July, right, to try to get things.
And players know how to train.
Another,
this isn't something they haven't done. When they come in before training camps, they do a lot of player practice, captain practice, whatever you want to call it. Guys who played long enough, they know what they need to do. They can run their own drills. I think it'll be, you mentioned goalies. That'll be a unique circumstance. Goalies obviously train and practice a little bit different than the players and the skaters. But they'll be able to figure this out and get things going. It'll be a nice relief for them to get back on the ice and get skating, because it's the only sport you can't simulate when you're off. Running, walking, whatever it is, they need to get on skates. Masks
mandatory when not exercising. So if you're not on the ice, not in the weight room, not riding the bike, whatever it might be. But interesting. There's been all sorts of schools of thought, Shane, on who it's going to take longest to get back going. Is it a goaltender? Is it a defenseman? Is it a forward? Do you have a school of thought on who's best positioned and who it might take a little longer than usual considering the circumstances?
I think it really plays to the individual, and it plays to what they've been doing here, throughout this quarantine, and how guys have been preparing themselves. And on a bigger picture, this is going to play into how teams come back, how guys have, looked after themselves during this time. Have they maintained their conditioning levels? I think the majority of them have. In today's world, athletes, professional athletes, know how to train, know how to eat, know how to prepare themselves. And then it's going to be, getting back the quickest they can to game, which is going to come through these phases. Phase 2 isn't going to have them ready to play games. It's just going to get them back on the ice, get their skating legs, get a little bit of conditioning back on the hockey arena, and set things up. Their timing, shooting, stick handling, passing. All those details to the game are kind of what's going to come with phase 2. And then, you move from there. Hopefully we move on, and that's when they get into a training camp scenario. And then it gets really interesting. Coaching, which I imagine coaches have been working through. Everybody's been working through all this behind the scenes on their own. You've talked about Zoom, whatever it is they've been doing remotely to maintain contact and to maintain as sharp as you can throughout this.
Well, and it's interesting, too. They've all the things they've had to consider. And look, today there wasn't a time for hypotheticals, but, that has to be somewhere in their thought process, right? What if there's a flare-up? What if something happens, right? You hope it doesn't. But in the world we live in, we all know what's going on. That's something that I'm sure there's got to be a plan, and there's got to be some sort of criteria in place. But the testing and you're talking 25,000 tests at
25 to 30,000.
30,000 tests that are going to have to be done, and there's no way they're going to do any of this. I saw an interview earlier today with Donald Fear, who head of the Players Association, and he was hopeful this was all going to work, but I think there was also maybe a guarded optimism. We've never seen anything like this, right? So you've got to hope that everything goes well and they're able to progress from phase 2, kick it up to the
Testing
next
will
phase,
kick
to
up in
phase
each
3.
phase.
Exactly. So, and then if all goes well, then they get things back going and hopefully can resume this season, because for a lot of teams, and it's funny, the Golden Knights, if you're going to make a list of teams that were disappointed when this pause came, I guess the Golden Knights and maybe the Philadelphia Flyers, right? They were on a terrific tear out east in terms of teams that seemed poised to maybe do something special. The Golden Knights were playing their best hockey of the season when all this came to a screeching halt 10 weeks ago.
And I think they're going to be very prepared. This is a group of players that believe in this team. We've heard throughout the league there's certain guys worried about this and that. I've not heard anything like that from the Golden Knights players. I think they're ready to come back if everything's safe and ready for them and to compete, because they know they have a special group in there. They know they have a talented team. They have a close team. They feel they still hadn't hit their peak. And hopefully they can come out of this and hit it. That's what certainly all the fans are hoping for. They have as good a chance as any. I think there's other teams now that are getting a second chance to kind of come into a playoff situation. They're going to be fired up. But I really believe there's a group of 5 to 7 teams that felt legitimately they have a chance, and that I think their mindsets throughout this haven't been looking to the season being gone. I think they've been focused on that, yes, there will be a way we can come back, and I believe the Golden Knights are one of those teams.
If you were, and we're going to join Stormy here momentarily. She's got a little riddle for us, Shane, so I can't
I'm not
wait
good
to
at
hear
riddles,
this.
Dave.
If you were still in your playing days, how would you have handled this time in terms of your training? How would you have put together something for yourself?
Oh, there's been a lot of training, and I think a lot of guys got roller blades. You live in the climate they do here in Vegas that allows you to simulate skating as much as you can. Any type of conditioning, running, biking, and then weights. Most guys now have enough stuff at home to train properly. They would have been in contact, to get programs to maintain, whether that's their off-site guys they use in the off-season for training. And then, the world of technology allows you to stay connected as much as possible. And, I think there's other, shooting, stick handling as much as you can. Guys ordering the ice sheets, the plastic sheets you can stick handle on. I have them at my house, not for me, for my son. But those are the type of things that allow you to stay as sharp as you possibly can. And I think you needed to utilize whatever you could to your advantage throughout this to try and stay, up to speed as much as you can. That's what I would have done, Dave.
Yeah, there you go. I think that makes as much sense as anything. All right, so we're going to check in real quick here with Stormy. Look at this. This is fancy how we're able to do this here. Stormy's in the other part of our studio. Do you have some sort of a riddle? What's going on?
Well, I do, because I feel like since we've been doing all of these broadcasts at home, we've ended every show on a fun little question or a fun little odd moment. And so are you guys ready for this riddle?
Fire away. What's the riddle?
Okay. There are 30 cows in a field, 28 chickens. How many didn't?
There are 30 cows in the field. There are 28 chickens. How many didn't?
Yes.
Like, didn't what? Like, I don't.
I've heard this one before, and I can't remember the answer.
How many didn't?
It's 30 cows.
30
Repeat
cows.
it, Dave.
30
it's
cows
not
in
that
the field,
hard,
28 chickens.
Guys, come on.
How many didn't? None?
No, well, that's not the answer.
26.
38? Is it 30? Give me one more time.
30 cows in a field and 28 chickens.
Yes.
How many didn't?
2.
That's not what I said.
What'd you say?
There were 30 cows in a field, 28 chickens. How many didn't?
That's what I just
said. I didn't say there were 30 cows and 28 chickens.
The answer is 2.
Oh, in a field. 2? Shane says 2.
Final answer?
2.
The answer is 10.
What are you talking about, 10?
Because it's not 28 chickens. It's 28. Like,
2 separate words, not a number.
yes.
Oh,
It's good,
you get it,
right?
Shane?
It's good, right?
So it's not. I know you can't hear Stormy, but
I can, yeah.
It's
That's why I got it wrong.
28 chickens.
Oh, 28
not
chickens.
the number 28. Nice, Stormy. Did you think of that yourself?
I actually saw it on America's Funniest Home Videos, and I couldn't figure it out. And so I was
us
like,
two
this is,
geniuses
I
couldn't
hope,
figure it
I
out
hope
either.
that you guys couldn't figure
for
it out
making
too,
us
so
look
I wouldn't
good.
be alone.
Well, we're happy to join the club. It's been wonderful to visit with you again, Stormy.
Oh,
Thanks
yes.
very much.
Missed you
Yeah.
guys so much. Had to social distance once again,
Yeah.
make it all the way over here, but it was
You
good.
bet. Well, hopefully all goes well. We can do more of these. This has been terrific to be back in a studio here with Shane, 6 feet apart, but better late than never, I guess.
It is. It's really
That's
good to be
great.
back. I blame you for getting that wrong. I think you repeated it.
I take most of the blame, so that's fine. That's fine. Well, this has been Knight's Report, brought to you by Ethel M. Some exciting news. Obviously, the NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman announcing today what the transition into Phase 2 is going to look like. And as we said, fingers crossed, things can move along. We can resume the NHL season and go right to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time on Knight's Report. Stay safe.